LaPorta in motion, toss play. Montgomery wants to throw to the end zone. There's the touchdown for Sam LaPorta.
Straight obliteration. The Detroit Lions are on everyone's radar and may be, along with the Chiefs, the team to beat right now. There's no doubt that they are the hottest team. The Lions are just clicking on all cylinders right now, and I want to talk all about it. But before we begin, I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, plus you can always change your mind. We are on the road to 40,000 subscribers, and with your support, I believe we can get there super fast. Alright, so let's break down this massacre. Jared Goff had an efficient day, completing 12 of 15 passes for 85 yards and 3 touchdowns, before being pulled in the fourth quarter due to the lopsided score. Jahmyr Gibbs provided a spark all night long and a highlight reel moment with an untouched 70-yard touchdown, reaching a top speed of 22.03 miles per hour, the second fastest speed by a ball carrier this season. Jared Goff started off the game with a short pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown and Gibbs, but the Lions ended up punting. But it wasn't long before the defense created their first turnover on Mason Rudolph with an interception. And then David Montgomery rushed left for a 7-yard touchdown to get the scoring started for Detroit. Tony Pollard on the next drive had a few solid runs, carving up the Lions' defensive line, but it was short-lived as soon as Rudolph threw a few passes, and Ryan Stonehouse punted the ball away again. The Titans' defense ended up holding strong, and the Titans finally got their first points of the game when Mason Rudolph rushed into the end zone for an 11-yard touchdown to tie things up. But it was pretty much all Detroit after this, and I mean all Detroit. Gibbs took one 70 yards to the house. The Titans did match those points to tie the game up at 14, but that was it for them. Goff hit Brock Wright for an 8-yard touchdown, St. Brown got a touchdown, Sam LaPorta got one on a trick play from David Montgomery, and things didn't stop there. Kalif Raymond returned a punt to the house 90 yards, and before you knew it, it was 41-14. Almost looked a little bit like last week's game against the Cowboys, but even more of a beatdown. And Raymond got another touchdown in the third, this time on a pass from Goff. And then Bates hit a field goal to wrap up the game with a final score of 52-14. Looking at some of the stats, as I mentioned, Goff did not have a lot of passing yards with 85, but he didn't need to with the way the score was. And with the punt returns and trick plays that were run, there wasn't that many yards available for him to even throw for. Gibbs had 127 yards on the ground with a touchdown, Montgomery had 33 yards in a touchdown, LaPorta had 48 yards in a touchdown, off 6 receptions, Raymond had 14 yards in a touchdown in the receiving game, Wright had an 8-yard touchdown, St. Brown only had 7 yards but a receiving touchdown, and then Bates had one 51-yard field goal and 7 PATs. Was this a bad Titans team? Yes, they really do suck. But they handled their business, the defense made plays with all the guys injured, and special teams balled out. And now this sets up a showdown at Lambeau Field next week against the Packers in a battle for first place in the division. This is going to be a super interesting matchup just alone due to the fact that Goff was a little gimpy with his ankle and Jordan Love is dealing with groin issues. But at the end of the day, both these teams are very good. And I don't think this is going to be a game where the Lions are able to just cruise in and win by 30. But we'll see, because there isn't anyone hotter right now. Yesterday, whenever the Titans thought they were back in the game, which there were actually a few times it looked like they were because the Lions did not dominate every minute of this game, Detroit punched them in the gut. But that's the crazy thing. The Lions scored 52 points, and it still feels like there are things to clean up. The Lions just punish you. Whether it's big hits on defense or in the run game, they punish you. And I know the Titans may be the worst football team I've ever seen, but it's still the NFL. We saw the Browns beat the Ravens yesterday. It still is any given Sunday. You have to show up and show out, and Dan Campbell always has this team ready. One thing we are really seeing this season from the Lions is their depth, because we all know they lost Aiden Hutchinson. Brutal loss, but the defense still looks super solid. But I would like to see the front office address the loss. I would be shocked if they didn't because of where this team is at. I'm not saying you have to go out and make a league-breaking move, but even just bringing in another above-average pass rusher would make a big difference in the long run. Now moving back to the offense, Jared Goff just became the first quarterback in NFL history to throw 2 or more touchdown passes and complete 72% of his passes while having a passer rating of 110 or higher in the last 5 games. First QB ever to do that. The offense is just breaking records left and right, and people are really starting to pay attention to what this team is doing. Let's take a look at what everyone is saying.
But are the Detroit Lions playing the best football at this point?
I mean, I think it's hard to argue that they're not.
I think you look at that offense, the creativity that Ben Johnson brings to it, the physicality that offensive line brings to it. Defensively, we said, okay, how are they going to do without Aiden Hutchinson? I think that has yet to play out.
Kalif Raymond told me that one of the reasons they keep improving is Amon-Ra St. Brown is insisting on practice habits at an excellence level constantly, and it's snowballing. There's no letdown. They keep. I wonder how much of it comes from the 17-point lead they blew last year in the NFC Championship, but that creates a desire that I think can lift them to the Super Bowl. Now, if they played the Chiefs in New Orleans in the Super Bowl, I don't know. But right now, the Lions are better.
So basically, almost everyone thinks that the Lions are the best team in the NFL right now, or at least they are playing the best football overall. But I think we all know Lions fans don't really want to hear that. You guys will probably only think that when Dan Campbell is hoisting up the Lombardi Trophy. But throughout my entire life, alongside my Cleveland Browns, the Lions have just been so bad. So it does have to feel good hearing the national media talk about and covering the team like this. But there is a fine line to walk, because I remember when Cleveland was finally doing good, I kind of wanted them to stay under the radar again. Anyways, another thing they talked about that stood out to me was Amon-Ra St. Brown and how he is the one super focused in on all the small details every practice, and how that has spread throughout the team like a wildfire. Every great team always has that one guy, and you can tell when there's a good team that doesn't have that guy. And it's great to see, because all too often, there are players who try to be that guy, but the locker room doesn't respect him. It's hard to be a leader and win over a locker room as a player. You can't fake it, it has to be 100% authentic, and I think that's what we are seeing. Here's what St. Brown had to say in his most recent interview on Fox.
Hey, Amon-Ra, it's Howie. Since the beginning of last season and half the games you played, you had over 100 yards receiving. No other receiver in football can say that. What about this offense really plays to the strength of your game?
I think it's a multitude of everything. Coach Johnson, the guys that we have on offense, the linemen, our O-line, our receivers, tight end, Jared at the helm of it all. I think it works. I can't do anything without, the help of all of them. They put me in great position to make plays. But I think, our run game is great. We can play action off it. We got so many weapons on offense that it makes it hard to guard everyone.
The Lions really do have so many weapons, and it's tough for a defense to guard all of them. And Dan Campbell is so good at activating and getting the most out of all of them. But I would like to see him make some better decisions in the postseason. I'm all for being aggressive, the trick plays, the whole package. But once you get up by 3 touchdowns, you have to shut it down and play the clock game. Like mathematically against the 49ers, they did just about everything wrong they could do wrong in the second half. That was an all-time collapse, but I think it turned out to be motivation to these players to come back even stronger, and we are seeing it out on the field. No question about that. Looking ahead at the schedule, the Lions have 2 big tests coming up. I already talked a little bit about that Packers game, but the week after that is against CJ Stroud and the Texans. These are the games in the middle of the season that mentally you have to just grind through. It can be hard to stay motivated, but at the end of the season, when we look at the seeding, finding ways to win those games or at least split the series against the good teams is super important. Because I can't even stress enough how important it is to have home field advantage in the playoffs. But no matter what happens, I can't wait to see how the Lions finish out this year, because they are playing some exciting football right now, and nobody seems to have the formula to stop them. That's really all I got for this one. Thank you all so much if you made it to this point, and if you enjoyed and haven't yet, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe, because your support truly does mean the world. And also, let me know what you would like to see next, and until then, I will see you all later.